Hey, I'm Steven from Rocky Mountain, and I'm going to show you how to remove and install Rocky Mountain shock eyelet bearings. We designed and created our own shock bearing eyelets to increase shock sensitivity on our full suspension bikes. To make this adjustment, you'll need a 4mm Allen key, 5mm Allen key, 6mm Allen key, a bench vise, a small hammer, and Rocky Mountain's own bearing eyelet removal tool, part number 1810031. The first thing we're going to need to do is remove the rear shock. Locate the rear shock mount on the suspension link, and using a 4mm Allen key on the non-drive side and a 5mm Allen key on the drive side, loosen the screw with your 4mm Allen key by turning it counterclockwise. Remove the shock bolt and screw from the link, making sure not to lose track of the spacers or Ride 9 chips. Locate the forward shock mount, and using your 5mm Allen key on the drive side, loosen the screw by turning it counterclockwise. Remove the shock bolt from the forward shock mount and set aside. The next thing you're going to need to do is to remove the shock eyelet bearings. Install the bearing eyelet removal tool on the bearing eyelets that are mounted to the shock. First, install the top hat piece on one side, then install a cup over that side and thread in a screw until snug. Install a cup on the other side, thread in the screw until it contacts the top hat piece you put in first. Keep threading until one of the cups self-extracts itself. To remove the remaining cup, insert the drift tool into the side without the cup, and while holding the shock body in your hand, carefully and gently hammer the drift until the remaining cup is knocked out. Note, do not rest the shock body against anything. Hold it in your hand to ensure that no damage is done to the shock body. The next step is you're going to be installing the new shock bearing eyelets. First, lightly grease both cup shoulders, lightly grease the shock eyelet, lightly grease the bearing sleeve and spacer. Using soft jaws for your vise, press one cup into the shock eyelet. Insert the bearing spacer sleeve into the center and press in the other cup. Finally, you'll need to reinstall the shock in your bike. Reinstall the shock in the forward shock mount and tighten the hardware to 8 Nm. Reinstall the shock in the link, and with your desired Ride 9 settings, tighten the shock bolts and screws to 8 Nm. Now, you're ready to take your bike for a ride with fresh shock bearing eyelets installed.